general overview of the Game Jam. This is a much shorter period of Game Jam. So for those of you that have been joining the Game Jams and developer challenges over the last, I would say about a year and a half, you've gotten used to a 2-month period of being able to learn about 8th Wall Studio, develop for it, and then submit your experiences. We've shortened that, as you can see, pretty dramatically. 2 reasons for that. 1, we're starting off with a sample project that Rigel has built for you all. And 2, we really want to see how quickly you all can develop from that sample project. And in general, we'd love to do more of these game jams more consistently. So shortening it from a 2-month window to really like a month-long window gives us the ability to do these more often and hopefully provide more use cases for you all to build on 8th Wall Studio. The other thing that is not on this text that's new for this game jam is all of the top submissions, so whether you win a prize or not, will be eligible to join as the ultimate mini golf game. So what we're going to be doing at the end of this game jam is, if you opt in, take those levels and put them into one huge ultimate mini golf game, and then that will be distributed by 8th Wall so that we can get more eyes on your levels and on this game. So we will be testing native app export with that. We'll be doing a lot of fun tests on browser as well, maybe even reaching out to the partners of our last game jam, Vivers, to see if they'd be interested in hosting it so that we can get more eyes on your work and showcase how talented our 8th Wall Studio community is at building unique games and levels. So really excited about that. All right, so how do you actually submit? So if you go to 8th.io/gamejam, you'll notice that you can sign up, but you can't submit yet. The reason for that is because from August 16th to the 25th will be the submission window. We didn't want to pressure anyone to start thinking about like, let me just submit now, let me build as soon as possible. We want to get through these first 2 webinars and then give you the ability to start submitting. So first being the info session, giving you all of this information that you need to build. And then secondly, we will be doing the workshop where George will actually be breaking down the sample project and building live in front of you all before you all then get the ability to submit. But by all means, please open up the sample project, break it, rework it, start working on your ideas. This doesn't mean that you can't start working. It just means that the submissions window won't open until August 16th. 2 key things. 1, you have to provide a really a 30-second to 1-minute demo video of your level. And then secondly, it has to be a public featured page link on 8thwall.com. So make sure that you fully publish your game level before submitting. All right, so let's move on to the good stuff. For prizes.
Question.
Yes, George.
So in general, would you recommend that people focus on building 1 or 2 really good levels or a bunch of levels?
That is a great question, and something that we actually changed for this game jam. So in the past, some of you will probably remember that there was an up to 3 submission max for each team or individual. That's been moved up to 5. So if you're someone that's like an overachiever and wants to build a bunch of different levels, by all means, go for it. But to answer George's specific question, I'd rather see 1 really good level than 5 mediocre levels. So definitely something to think about. But if you have the time and you really want to experiment, by all means, submit up to 5 different levels for this jam. Cool. All right, let's move on to the prizes. So for this game jam, we are going to stick to the same types of prize structure as we did for the last game jam, where we'll have a 1st place, 2nd place, and 3rd place. And then we'll jump into some of the categories. So for 1st place, we are offering a $5,000 cash prize and a spotlight blog, which we'll see like something similar to our behind the builds. You will obviously be featured in the winners announcement blog as well, but something that we like to do is then dive deeper and get some more information about how you built your level. And then of course, you'll be featured on 8thwall.com. So right now, if you go to 8thwall.com, you'll probably see if you just scroll down past the main welcome screen, you'll see all the good chunk of the Vivers Forge the Future Game Jam winners. So if you haven't played those games, I strongly recommend them. They're a lot of fun. The winners are currently going through the process to getting their games on Vivers, which is really, really great. 2nd place, you will get a $2,000 cash prize and the same prizes as the 1st place prize. hey, Elijah, welcome in. And third place prize will be $1,000 cash prize along with the other two sim elements. So moving on to the additional prizes. For each of these, it will be a $500 prize. For the most creative mechanic, this is where you might want to look at What the Golf for inspiration. This could be how you do your power shots, unlocking certain elements within the level. So maybe by reaching a hidden level, a little platform within your level, you get an extra hit or something along those lines. Think about that as you're building. Best themed design. So you'll see in the sample project, we have a volcano design that was built by Rigel. So something along those lines. If you pick a really cool theme, this is what will be given that prize to. Best puzzle level. So we're talking like multi-level, multi-layered levels, high difficulty, but very playable. I know some of you all have a tendency to create like rage games that we've seen in the past. Not against it, but like they're really hard. So make sure they're at least beatable for this one. And then lastly, for the first time in a really long time, we are bringing back a community voted prize. Yeah, Declan, you have to earn the win. Yeah, you're one of them that always builds hard to beat games. So please try to keep it a little bit easier. But yeah, like I mentioned, last one, community voted. We haven't done this in a while. We got a lot of feedback in the past regarding how the votes were coming in and being skewed. So I am working on getting a good voting system, and we'll probably do it within Discord so that those folks that are in our community can vote, and that'll be how we determine this prize. One thing that's not on there is honorable mentions. We will have up to 5 honorable mentions, and those honorable mentions will receive Asset Lab credits for continuing to build using Asset Lab. All right, so judging criteria. For those of you that have joined jams in the past, you'll notice one thing that's very obvious here is that we're going from 4 criteria to 3 criteria. The thought process here is to make judging a little bit easier for our judges, but to also keep it more concise for you all, so it's easy to understand what you're being judged on. So first and foremost, gameplay mechanics and creativity. So I'll just go ahead and read this out. Are the core mini golf mechanics thoughtfully designed and fun to engage with? Are there creative twists, e.g. unexpected hazards, obstacles, teleporters, or power-ups? So the sample project is very simple. It makes it super easy to build something and just kind of like reskin it, make your own different course. But I'm looking for like power-ups. I'm looking for unique obstacles. Use the Asset Lab to create those things and those elements for your levels. Or design them yourself. I know Noah's in here somewhere. I think I saw his name. So Noah's an amazing designer. I'm sure we're going to see something really, really cool for this as well. Visual design and challenge. So I kept the Rage game developers in mind for this. Is the level interesting and well balanced in terms of difficulty? Does the level incorporate a theme and exceed visual expectations, right? So you'll see that this is kind of related to one of the prizes that we have. And so keep that in mind as you're building. And then lastly, of course, staying true to wanting the best possible experience that you can build, technical execution and performance. Does the game run smoothly on web mobile devices as applicable? Are load times, responsiveness, and overall stability solid? Now, I know some of you opened the sample project and were like, wait a minute, there's some things that were broken. Huge thank you for reporting that. I know the team, Rigel and George, were working on fixing that. So I think we'll hear some good updates from them here in a minute. So yeah. All right. So Putt Paradise demo. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. I hope, George, from your device, you can share.
Yeah, let's start sharing screen. I think we can share this tab and then also share audio. We'll check that. Cool. So you guys can see this?
Yes.
Cool. Okay, so yeah, we'll clone it. I'll let
all right. Cool.
Master take over here.
Let's give this a shot. Yeah, and thanks for reporting those issues this morning. I was trying to get like all the physics fixes in before the info session, but it seems like we got it just in time. So cool. So let's see here. so in our projects, I guess you already had it pulled up here. This is from our project library. So I'm sure Pablo will link the project somewhere. But yeah, so this is called Putt-Putt Paradise. We've got this nice lengthy README that kind of gives an overview of kind of what I'll be explaining. There's 3 main levels in the sample project. And there's 2 other spaces. One is called UI and one is called Putt-Putt Factory. And so I'll get into all that in a moment, but I'll go ahead and clone this to start. 812.
Yeah.
Team. Okay, and we'll call this Putt-Putt info session. Okay. So this is well, I guess to start, it was a lot of fun to make. Like I said before, I've always been a big fan of Putt-Putt, and I've been really thinking a lot about what kind of sample project can we make that shows off kind of all these kind of table stakes game mechanics while also incorporating physics. And so came up with this, and I'm really excited for you all to get a chance to try it out. And break it, make it your own. But so basically, like I said, there's 5 spaces. So there's the start screen. There's 2 holes in this demo, a UI space, which I'll explain in a second, and then something called Putt-Putt Factory. So the start screen is pretty straightforward. Basically, we can hit play, and you can see what this looks like. This is just a little space. If you go on Unity Studio, this is the simulator, so you can actually see what it would look like on different sites.
Right. Real quick, can you guys mute the stuff?
Too loud?
Yeah, we can't hear you at all.
Okay. The music sounds better than whatever I have to say. But yeah, so here we, I guess as I was saying, this is the simulator. In the simulator, you can try out different screen resolutions. You can, put it in picture-in-picture, so you can work and iterate from here. And then you can also just go ahead and minimize it or just stop it altogether. So whenever you're in this scene, though, so there's a few things I wanted to highlight. So the first is we have this orbit camera that I was just showing off. This is actually the same orbit camera that we use in the game. It's called Golf Orbit Controls. It's actually a modified version of the built-in orbit control camera that we include in Studio. And it has a couple extra things. It has this start yaw, start pitch, and start distance. So basically, you can reorient the orbit camera so that it's lined up correctly with when you start, swinging the golf club. Next, we have a UI section. So this is called overlay here in this one. We can fly over here and we can see. So the UI looks kind of funky here because this is actually the section or the frame that's displaying the controls for desktop. But actually, there's a script in here that basically makes an attempt to determine whether you're on a desktop or a mobile device, and then it'll actually hide the desktop controls section. So that's what this is called, start game. So if we look at the code here real quick, this basically handles everything in this space. So, we have, like I said before, this like check. So it's I'm trying to see okay, what's the user agent string? Does the device have touch? How big is the screen? And then it, tries to figure out based off of that, and if you have a better way of detecting, please go ahead. But it's nice because when you can customize the interface and the inputs for mobile versus desktop, it just makes for a cleaner experience. And then the next thing that we have in here is, this button hover state logic. So if you notice, whenever we run this, you can hover over this new game ready button. That's just what this is doing. It's just listening for those hover events. And then down here at the bottom, we listen for a click event. and we load the next space, which is called hole 1. So if you're cloning this and you want to change where this goes, when you click the new game button, this is where you're going to find that. So if you do decide to change the names or you want to start somewhere else, this is where you would remap that start button. And so, what else we have in here? We've got a music object, and so that was that music that you were listening to earlier. Pretty straightforward. It's set to autoplay loop. Sometimes, like with browsers, you need a click event before it can begin playing back the audio track. And part of the reason why I have a start screen is because I want to make sure that the audio works for the main game. So in the case where you have this and maybe the user hasn't clicked on the screen or tapped on the screen yet and the audio isn't playing for this screen, that's okay, because the moment that they click this button on the next one is when the audio will work for the music and the sound effects and everything, which is great.
We're getting the music.
Oh, you can hear the music?
Yeah.
That's crazy. What? Try turning the volume.
You think reloading the window will work? You can't hear the music now, right?
Not right now, no.
Okay.
I think if you might have to resort on muting the tab.
It is muted.
It's
The tab
muted.
is muted.
Oh, so it's just.
I think it's just a bevy thing.
Yeah,
It
probably.
doesn't respect the muted tab, but we can always just mute the volume of the music too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or I can turn it way down because the music's pretty good.
It is great. Yeah.
Music is different.
Elevator music for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna set the volume to like 0.1, and then we'll just see. Okay, but on to hole 1. So in hole 1, there's a lot more happening. Okay, so first thing you'll notice is we've got this nice floating island and these trees. So all of these were made using Asset Lab, which highly recommend you give it a shot. So it's really simple to use. Basically, you can go into the Asset Lab tab and you can click Generate. And then when you click like 3D Model, first you'll be asked to create an image. And so here, you would like, choose, I don't know, like palm tree. You can give it an image from your library. So if you have like a particular style or something that you want to do, I have no idea what's going to happen if I do like an iPhone. Okay. We're going to try that.
iPhone shaped palm tree or
Yeah.
palm tree shaped iPhone?
No idea. But whatever is the result, we're going to commit to making a 3D model out of. So this, every like free accounts, I think have like 50 credits.
Yeah, something like that.
And then you can sign up for more, like a higher like credit plan if you want to use that. But it's really easy to create both. Like, so we have 3D models, we have animated 3D characters. So if you want to have characters running around in your golf course, like be my guest.
Kicking your golf ball.
Yeah, maybe it's not even a golf club that's actually hitting it. It's like
Yeah.
someone's kicking it. It's a soccer ball. I don't know. Okay. That ended up being kind of boring. I don't know. I guess it adhered to the text prompt more. But anyway, so whenever you make like a 3D model, I'll just show you some stuff that we've already made. Here's one that looks like Sai on the team made. So little bug. This is one that's using multi-view. So it generates the first image and then it figures out what all the sides look like. So you can customize it that way. And then here's like a cactus. Let's see. That's pretty cool.
That's one of my favorite ones.
Oh yeah. So this one George made. So give it a shot. I think it's like a really simple way to make. I was having a lot of fun when I was designing these holes, just creating those objects and then throwing them in there. Okay, so in the actual scene though, I want to walk through some of the logic. So I'm going to just drag this down so we have more space to look at the hierarchy. Oh yeah. Oh, great. Even better. All right, so this is that camera object, the camera orbit controls that I mentioned earlier. And here you'll notice that I've set the start, yaw, pitch, and distance to be, like the optimal perspective from behind the player, so that they can like see the whole, from right at the beginning. And then every scene has, or every hole in this demo has kind of three main parts, right? So one is called the whole score zone object, one is the player object, and then one is the golf ball object. So the whole score zone is actually, I'll just fly over there. That's this like invisible collider that sits below the hole, and there's actually has a lot of logic attached to this. So the whole score component is the thing where you actually set the hole's par. So when you set this number, there's a few things that are actually listening for it. There's a UI system that's listening for that, so that it understands like, okay, this is par 3 and knows what to display in the overlay UI. And then it also helps you understand later, we have a results screen. So here, like if I swing and I actually score, which you can use like your keyboard's spacebar or left-right arrow keys, or you can also use the on-screen controls. So whenever you score, this par number is being encoded from here, and I can kind of show you in a second. But anyway, that's what that value does. The final hole, so this toggle is like what you'd want to check. It's like the last hole in your game, because that way the result screen doesn't display a next hole button. It just, so it's like, okay, you did it. Now, everything else here, these are all basically being wired to the other objects in your scene that are necessary for it to function. So it needs to know, like in this space, like which is the player object. And you'll notice that like whenever you click on this, it'll actually specify all of the spaces that are available to you from within this one. So hole 1 was like the name of this space, and so these are all of the entities that are like in your hierarchy here. So you just want to make sure that that's mapped correctly to the player, and so on. And basically, like for the purposes of all of these objects, this component, this whole score component, it's doing a lot of like, okay, we want to hide the power bar, and we want to hide the score whenever you finish the score, or we want to be able to know where the golf ball is, so that like if it falls off the edge, we can reset it and things like that. And so if you look in the code for this component, it's all like hopefully well commented, so you can see like exactly what everything is doing. But this includes the logic where it says birdie whenever you get a certain differential between the par and like your stroke count. It resets everything between like setups, and it handles like sound effects. And I guess there's another piece that's pretty important here. So this thing that says hole 1, par 3, score 2, so that logic actually lives in an included space. So included spaces are kind of like a unique concept in Studio, where you'll actually see here, I'm in hole 1, but if I scroll to the bottom, there's this section called UI. And that's because like UI is actually another space in my project that lives here. And everything that I have here is exactly the same, and it's included in this. And so you can think of it kind of like if you wanted to use a space as a prefab, like conceptually, it's like you can go into the UI space and make edits there, or you can even do that from right here at the bottom. And all of these edits would then like sync between the two because it's the same space. Why might you want to use something like this? Well, in this case, we have for each of the holes, the UI space is included in both of them. And so this means that things like the overlay logic and everything, you don't need to duplicate it within each space because it sort of carries through each one. And this one you'll notice is blue. This is the result entity. The result entity handles, like what I was just showing you, this like sort of table where it tracks your score over the progression of the game. And it's blue because I've set it to be persistent. And persistent means that like it's kind of like don't destroy on load. Basically, as you move from one hole to the next, any object that's persistent across both holes will retain all of its data. So in this case, right, it's like you do hole 1, you score, you click next hole, and then when the second hole loads, we've hidden this like whole parse score table, but we haven't deleted it. And so the next time you score, it'll add another entry to the table. And so this is sort of how you track your players' score over the course of your game without needing to like manage data, right? It's like sort of just never gets deleted, and then they can see the result as they go. And so we also have this like score particles. So whenever you score, we have a particle effect, which you saw a second ago. Feel free to dismantle this and customize it. And then we also have the player object. So the player object is also really important. And I would say that like the whole score zone and the player controls, these are like the two kind of major scripts in the game. But this is the one that handles all of the physics for the ball hit. So, it basically resets the position of the player to wherever, like this thing, this like arrow and golf club object, they actually don't have any physics colliders applied to them. And what happens is whenever you swing the golf club, it's just a prefab animation. So this thing just sort of swings back and then swings forward. And then as soon as the animation completes is when we apply impulse on the golf ball in the direction that you're pointing. And so, so that's kind of like it makes it like a lot more simple and removes a lot of, kind of unpredictability with the way that the physics would work had the golf club actually had a physics collider attached. But the nice thing about this is, like I said earlier, it makes it really easy to just replace the golf club with whatever you want to. And as long as like the timing's right, it'll always look like it's like hitting the ball. Or again, whatever you want the ball to be. I mean, it doesn't even need to be a ball. And so, there's other things in here too. So this is actually handling the power meter. So if you look at the UI, you'll see that we have this like power meter that grows and changes color as it animates up and down. And so this is doing all of that. This is like changing the color on tick. And then whatever the percentage value is of this power meter is how much like impulse we apply whenever you swing the club. And so, and then this is also what's handling the rotation. So if you want to rotate, you can change like the speed of the rotation to make it faster. We also handle the reset ball height. So if you kick it off the edge, it waits until it's like -3 units on the Y before it resets to the last known position of the ball. So it's always tracking where the ball was previously so that like we know where to put it whenever you kick it off the edge, or maybe it gets eaten by an enemy. And also we have this player initial rotation. So it's just sort of like a little bit of a thing where we spawn, the way that we like spawn the ball with the physics. You just need to make sure to like set this to whatever you want so that it's pointing the correct direction when the game begins. But yeah, and so the last thing I guess I'll talk about with this one is the golf ball. So with the golf ball, you may have seen earlier on Discord, people were reporting issues with some of the they're basically like you'd hit the golf ball and it would look like it wasn't going anywhere, or maybe it would like chip off in the wrong direction. And so what we figured out was that this actually might have to do with this high precision toggle here. This is like a new feature that we just added, but basically we figured out that like if you have this set to true on a high refresh rate display, it actually improves the accuracy of like quite a bit of the collision detection. But if you're on a lower frame rate display, then we're going to want to keep that toggled off. And so I actually landed a change to the project just before this info session where I do a detection to determine whether or not you're on a high frame rate display or not. So this is that. So feel free to like, if you're having issues, like if you want to like mess with this, but basically I determine, the frame count over time, and then try to figure out, okay, like, are you on like 100 FPS plus display? So like the MacBook I'm on, for example, has like ProMotion. So I'm usually getting like 120 FPS in this project. And so I turn on high precision for the ball. But if it's anything else, so like a lot of mobile devices, for example, then we turn it off. And so with this, you get a little bit less like accuracy in your collision detection, but you're not going to get those like weird issues where like the golf ball swing or the golf club swings and the ball doesn't move or that kind of thing. It's not perfect. Like we're definitely still sorting a lot of this out. And honestly, like this game jam, I'm really looking forward to getting as much feedback as we can from y'all to understand how to improve our physics, because it's like a big priority for us right now is getting our physics system to be like a lot better. But we thought, what better way than to just, jump in the water to learn how to swim. So here we are trying to do a physics game jam. So that's hole one. Whenever you score, like I said, there's that result screen that appears. Oh my gosh, I was screwing with the physics. What did I change? I was just clicking stuff. I don't know. But whenever you score, that next button that appears, there's logic in here that also determines where, like which level is loaded next. And so that's really important when you're creating your own holes. This is inside the hole score TS component. We have this hole map. So this would be basically like where you hard code the name of the next hole you want to load when that button is clicked. And so, anyway, this would be kind of like where you do that. And we're going to write all this out and like include like a guide and everything. So you don't got to remember all of these details. But, I'll show you the last hole. This was way more fun. I have this I bet it's the audio, huh? Is everyone getting like heavy metal music right now?
Yeah,
rocking out.
Yeah. And yeah, change it to 0.1.
Okay, there we go.
So loud. I can already tell it's gonna be so they're just screaming.
It's a banger though. Like I was using this website Suno to make the music, and you'll notice that every song is like it's like a cover of each other. This is the heavy metal one, fitting I think for the lava level. It's also a really hard level, so I set it to par 10, but I'm curious like how I'm sure all of you are going to get an opportunity to like play test this to try to understand how to make your own much better than
so
mine.
easy.
But yeah, this is my favorite shot because you got to like bank it off the. There it is. Actually, I don't think I've done that. It's all this pressure is making me perform.
So good.
Yeah. Do you guys mind stopping your screen share and restarting it? Because it seems like it's like slowed down substantially.
Oh no.
And then you have to play that hole again because we didn't get to see any of that.
You're gonna get a hole in one now.
Oh my gosh! Well, you can see the result. I definitely nailed it, and I didn't cheat. I didn't just drag the ball into the hole. So yeah, so this level, it's using all the same stuff that I was just talking about. It's all reused. I guess one thing I hadn't talked about that was in both of these is the loading screen. So we do have a loading screen component, entity. Actually, prefab. Let me use the right word. So the loading screen is a prefab. This has all of the loading screen settings down here. And you can set how long you want the fade duration, the timeout after the loading has completed. So what's actually happening with this is, so the loading screen, we use this API called assets.getStatistics. And if you don't know about this, it's pretty cool. Basically, like we can determine at the space level how many assets you have in your scene, and then as they are loaded, then we can increment a progress bar on a load screen. And so, so anyway, if you're curious, I know that we definitely are overdue for like a proper built-in loading screen component. So this is kind of like my first like prototype attempt at like getting this here. But yeah, this thing, you blink and you miss it. These are really small assets. They mostly don't have textures, so it loads really quickly. But you'll also notice that it waits for the loading to complete before displaying the UI. And also you'll notice that the ball is dropped from a certain point after that happens as well. And that's because in this loading component, we actually have an event that we dispatch called level loaded. And the player controls component, remember the thing that controls the ball, that's actually listening for this level loaded event. And then that's what sets the gravity on the ball. So, it's, and also what sets the precision mode, like I said earlier, when we detect the frame rate count. So anyway, it's kind of like, it's kind of an important order of operations. But the reason why we don't apply the ball gravity yet is because we want all of the assets in the level to load before the ball gets its physics applied. We were having these issues earlier where like, if you just kind of let everything load at once, the ball gets the collider before some of the other elements do, and then you just like start the game by like falling through the floor. We don't want that. And so, yeah, so it's kind of like the basics of like getting the game started. You'll also notice we have this cool lava shader. So that is in a component called lava shader. Great. Yeah. So, but this is a great example of showcasing how to use 3JS shader materials if you want to make your own shader, and then how to tie that into both the time system in Studio as well as bringing in assets that you have stored in your file directory. And so, yeah, definitely like I'd love to see some custom shaders. And if you're intimidated by custom shaders, I would say like, vibe code those bad boys. Like it's actually surprisingly fun to just sit there and be like, make it weirder, make it cooler. I don't know. And then, so for this one, it's a bit more sophisticated, like the layout you'll notice of the different track. And this is actually maybe the most important thing that I want to talk about next for this particular game jam and sample project is that every single one of these bits of track that you see here is a prefab. So orange means it's a prefab. What we've done ahead of time is we've basically gone through with all of these bits of track and we've added custom like collider shapes to every single one. So you don't have to do this. Basically, we have this whole thing where if you go to this Putt-Putt Factory, these are all of the pieces of track that we've included that have colliders pre-applied. And the nice thing about this, there's a few nice things. One is like if you look at one of these and I uncheck the collider, you can see it's like, it's very tedious to sit there and kind of like try to match all the different shapes perfectly. But we've done it for you because we love you. And the other thing that's nice about it is each one of these is actually a perfect 1-by-1 unit. So this means that you can actually, if you hold the shift key down on your keyboard and you grab like the XZ square, you can shift it over by the perfect amount that you need to snap it to the other blocks. So it's really easy to like construct these like fully physics enabled putt-putt tracks with precision, which is really important that these things are like not like barely off because then it won't work, right? The ball will hit the gap and skip. And so this is just like really simple. Now, if you want to, there's a million ways to like bring these in. You can literally copy this and then switch to your hole and then paste it. Or you can just go to the prefabs tab. You can search for things like when you know what you want, like ramp, for example. and then you can click on it. And you can just drag it in, and then do that snapping thing like I was showing you. That's really simple. You can also, because they're prefabs, if you double click on any of these, so if you single click, then you can see a preview of it, and you can adjust these things. And this is being adjusted at the prefab level. So if you want to change like the material or add a component, then it's going to like ripple apply to like all of the other instances across all of your other holes. Very powerful, but just if you don't want that to happen, then you can unlink the prefab instance just like I just by right clicking. And then now that one won't get those changes applied. You can also apply overrides, and our prefab system's great. We love it. But if you double click on ramp high, for example, then it'll open up the prefab editor. And here you basically have kind of like a nice siloed space where you can make all of those adjustments as you go. And I think that's like kind of the gist. I know it's kind of a lot of information, but we have a README, like I said, and we're probably going to spend some more time putting together better like resources to explain all these things. But happy to answer any questions.
You need some water after that.
Yeah.
Let's hop over to George's best practices, and then we'll go ahead and answer the question.
So kind of like what Rigel mentioned earlier is one of the important aspects of building a game like this is that it needs to be functional on both mobile and PC. So you'll notice like when we play this, right? And you guys can still see the screen, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you'll notice that when we play this, I can click and move around, and I can use arrow keys to rotate, but also down here in the bottom right, there's buttons to rotate and swing. So this is going to be really important because if we switch over to my slides, let me share my screen. Switch over here. Some important notes about mobile and PC that are surprisingly easy to forget is that on a phone, you have no keyboard and no mouse. So you have to keep that in mind when you're developing your game, right? If all you're doing is testing with WASD, then you're going to go, this is great, I'm going to publish it. And then when the judge goes to test it on their phone and it doesn't work, everyone's confused why you didn't win, right? So anytime you build a new mechanic or something, I would always recommend building an on-screen button to complement the mechanic. Whether it be, let's say you decide for your game you want it so you can press spacebar to activate a jetpack for the golf ball. You probably want to add a jetpack button too. So if you're on mobile, you can press that button and it activates it. And here's some sample projects that go over mobile control. So this is gyroscope controller. This lets you rotate your phone to do some stuff. Player controller. Pablo, you might be able to remind me what this one does. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think it lets you swipe.
Yes, it's swipe mechanics.
Okay, yeah. So it lets you swipe. So that's really useful for gestures. Maybe you want to make it so your golf ball can hop up when you swipe up or press spacebar. So that would let you jump. Here are some PC sample projects. So vehicle controller, this uses WASD to drive. First person controller, this uses WASD to walk around and mouse to look around. And just on the concept of assets, something to keep in mind is that mobile tends to be wireless internet and typically not on Wi-Fi. So you should probably optimize your assets and intend for them to be used for the device they're intended for, right? So if you want your game to work well on mobile, you should probably use models that don't have a ton of triangles, have smaller textures. Just in general, I mean, this is a mini golf game. I don't expect anyone to import a 4K 2 million triangle golf ball, but if you do, maybe consider using a lower quality one for mobile players. But yeah, no, I wanted to keep this just kind of brief to remind you about these things that are really easy to forget. But I don't want any of these things to hamper your creativity. I want everyone to go wild and have fun. Yeah, so how are we doing? Do you have questions now?
We do have plenty of questions.
Sorry, we couldn't see the chat while we were talking, so we needed to catch up a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, all good. Do you guys have access to the Q&A section to look
Yeah.
at the questions? Okay, great. So just going to answer some of these early ones. Jeff asked, will the recording be available? Yes, it will. Right after this, I'll get on it and upload that to the 8th Wall YouTube and send an email to everyone registered so that they can get that. Next question from Jeff. This is probably going to be for you guys. Does 8th Wall have a procedural or stochastic shader? Hope I said that right.
What is that? Sorry.
It's it should be one of the first two questions.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
You can write your own shaders with 3JS, and 3JS has built-in shaders like standard mesh material, basic material. All of those are shaders.
George, you've been working on like a procedural kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if
I haven't had to use any shaders for it. It's been mostly math, but yeah, you can definitely write your own shaders. I've written a couple custom shaders for 3JS in the past. What are the requirements for each level? It needs to work.
I think, yeah, like it would be cool, but not a requirement, but it would be cool if it's like, if you mostly stuck to at least the scoring logic and things that we have so that it'd be easy to string together all the holes. I just think it'd be neat if like at the end there was like the possibility that like the winners could like have one like 18 hole course that everyone could play. And then all the players would have like the same scoring system. But I understand that like that is also kind of could be kind of hairy when you start going your own path. But yeah, I think it's more like, is it in the spirit of golf? And then, yeah, level and trigger. Like I guess I was kind of saying like it doesn't need to be a ball, or maybe it just kind of, I would say like just, if you want to make a first-person shooter golf game, like awesome. It's more just like the difference between this game jam and previous ones. I think, and Pablo was talking about this earlier. It's like we really just want to give you like a lot to start with, but that doesn't mean that like you need to adhere to it at all. It's more just like helping you, get through the annoying things like all the colliders for the track. Hopefully, it's going to save you a bunch of time. And then you can just focus on being creative and doing crazy stuff.
Yeah, don't look at the sample project as a limiter, but more so as a great place to get started.
Yeah.
There's a couple questions related to the jam rules I'll go ahead and answer. Avril is asking, so do we have to use only these assets, or can we import them from Blender or FBX model? No, you can use any of your assets as well on top of those that are provided. And then another question regarding a university track. For this specific game jam, we do not have a student prize. So the way that the prizes work is each individual submission is eligible for one prize. And just for transparency, the way that the judging usually works is the judges will score the top prizes and then make their way down from there. So if you win first place, for example, that level is no longer eligible for anything else. But if you as a team submitted multiple levels, then one of your other levels will be eligible for another prize.
There was a question from Declan. Does the loading component work when you transition from one space to another? It does, and that's because unlike the rest of the UI, that is a prefab that I include in each hole individually. And so that means that like when the hole starts, it gets a fresh loading screen. Do we have to consider mobile, or we can just focus on PC? Personally, I think it's cool if you got it to work for both, but I understand that like it's difficult, and especially if you're trying to do something novel, like RTS golf, it's like just PC's fine.
Yeah, one thing to consider is it is going to affect your overall score, but what that means is that if all your other elements are great, you will still likely make it to the final round.
Let's see.
One question from Declan is, are we able to create our own scripts for this project? How crazy can we get with these levels? I think you answered this, right, Joel? Essentially, like, go crazy, but maybe keep the scoring system.
Write as much custom code as you want. yeah, I mean, if you want to make zero gravity golf, like whatever, it's like totally unrestricted. With the aim of the sample again was just trying to keep a really scoped and simple starting point for everyone. But here, are you using concave colliders to achieve the hole, or it's a series of it's all convex primitives. It's all, you can go and take a look. Some of them are you're like, man, that looks like that was a pain in the ass, and it was.
Placed by hand.
Yeah,
by our
it's like,
artisans.
yeah, handcrafted collider primitives. But yeah, pretty much everything's a cylinder or a box.
Yeah, can't go without mentioning. Huge shout out to Rigel for making all of this. Sorry. So one question related to the project: is there a way to check the project file size? Any suggestion for project size for both mobile and PC?
So something to keep in mind with projects and studios specifically is that you can have as many assets in your assets folder as you want, but unless those assets are used in a space that becomes active, or they're like used somewhere that's in the scene, those assets will never be loaded. So you could load 10 gigabytes of assets into your studio project and then only drag 1 kilobyte of an image into your project, and only that 1 kilobyte will be sent over to the client.
Perfect. All right. I think that's all of the questions. Any last minute?